a lot of the industry might say, regulation is bad, but having defined regulation, I think, is a necessity in order to innovate, because many players won't innovate to the extent that they potentially could if they're worried about running offside of regulation. And if the regulation isn't defined, then they don't know if they're going to be offside of it or not.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BIGG interview series. I'm Fraser Matthews, and today I am joined by Pamela Draper, who is the President and CEO of Digital Commerce Payments and Pateno Payments, Inc., both leading financial services organizations in Canada. Pam, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me on today, Fraser.
So Pamela, tell us, what is the problem that Pateno is solving for businesses at the intersection of payments and crypto today?
Pateno is a fiat on and off ramp provider to both crypto businesses as well as businesses across a wide variety of industries. Any business who effectively wants to move money online, whether that's to their customers or their other stakeholders, Pateno provides the technology to enable the flow of those funds. So looking at the crypto industry specifically, we allow customers of Netcoins, for example, to fund their Netcoins wallets. We primarily do that via e-transfer. So we have a unique e-transfer product via API or application program interface that allows customers to instantaneously move funds from their bank account into their Netcoins wallet, from which they can then trade into cryptocurrency. Similarly, if they've placed a bet on Bitcoin and it's gone up, they can sell back to fiat and then use Pateno's technology to defund their wallet or take those funds off the platform and put them back into their bank account. We got in, similar to Netcoins, who was in the industry in Canada very, very early. We got in 2017, early 2018. And when you think about crypto back then, it was completely the Wild West. There was absolutely no regulation. The most major player in town at the time was a company called Quadriga, which I think everyone is still familiar with. Certainly everyone from back then was familiar with them. They were started by Gerald Cotton. They grew to be very, very large before Gerald Cotton disappeared, with wallets missing millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of customers' funds. So our story actually dates back to Quadriga and Gerald Cotton. And the reason it does is Gerald had come to our founder and CEO, Jeff Smith, and said, we'd like banking services for my crypto company. Can we get them from DC Bank? And Jeff tried to meet with Gerald, and he wouldn't meet with him in person. He did refer him to someone else. But looking at their business, we thought, this is not a safe, effective operation for Canadians to be investing in. So we started our own platform, BitBo, which was a cryptocurrency exchange that subsequently sold to FTX, and then WonderFi. That's an entirely separate podcast story there. But what we realized we were really good at was actually the movement of money on and off the platform. Our core competency wasn't the crypto trading itself. We leave that to Netcoins, but we stayed in the industry to provide the fiat on-off ramps, as I described. So long-standing history that basically dates back to when crypto started in Canada.
Unbelievable, and a great journey, and such a core part of the ecosystem now, so that exchanges like ours, can really thrive in the operating environment. And for you, operating a really significant and critical payments business that supports crypto in Canada, maybe tell us about how you can balance innovation with regulatory compliance within the organization.
Absolutely. So for us, regulatory compliance is 100% a cornerstone of the business. It allows us to continue to operate and allows us to continue to provide consistent services to the industry. Being a leader in regulation, recognized by the regulators as a safe and effective platform to allow customers to move funds on, is critically important to what we do. So we really view it as an asset. We've invested significantly in making sure that we're compliant in all the best possible ways, including automating certain services within that compliance, because as your business grows and scales, those functions need to be automated in order for you to be able to process transactions at the rate that we do. And knowing the regulations intimately inside and out is really how we do innovate. When you know how you can effectively operate and the playground in which you can play, that's when you can come out with really unique and innovative products that don't get you in trouble with the regulators and support businesses in Canada.
Yes, and with all that experience in the industry, nearly a decade there with the firm as well, what's the biggest gap that you currently see in Canadian payments or in fintech right now?
Oh my goodness, it has almost been a decade. That's actually terrifying, Fraser. I think the biggest gap is potentially us lagging behind in regulation versus the rest of the world. I think open banking is a really good example of this. So other jurisdictions, whether that's Europe, the UK, even the US, have really advanced their thinking on in terms of how they're going to regulate some of these more forefront technologies. And a lot of the industry might say, regulation is bad, but having defined regulation, I think, is a necessity in order
Hmm.
to innovate, because many players won't innovate to the extent that they potentially could if they're worried about running offside of regulation. And if the regulation isn't defined, then they don't know if they're going to be offside of it or not. So I think as we start to get into open banking and the breadth of opportunity that potentially provides to fintech, having our government advance some of those thoughts and put some of their thoughts out to the market so we know our sandbox that we can play in is really important. I think the new administration is talking about that now. Hopefully they follow through with some action, because we do have a little bit of catch up to do when you look at the UK and some of the other jurisdictions globally. But I think it's an opportunity because we are behind. If you're a key player in Canada, once we start to catch up, there's a whole breadth of opportunity that we can do to innovate here and catch up with the rest of the world.
What's a lesson from your past that still guides you today?
Oh man, I think consistently, if it seems too good to be true, it absolutely is. I think that's so important in crypto. If you think about what's happened with certain meme coins, if you think what's happened with certain meme stocks, if you think what's happened with certain yield platforms, I don't even need to name them. You can probably think of five to hundreds if you're in the meme coin space off the top of your head, where the return has seemed too good to be true, the yield has seemed too good to be true, and ultimately it proves out to be and it comes crashing down. So I think do your due diligence and don't get caught up in the greed of it. That will be better for the industry as a whole, and certainly better for yourself personally.
Absolutely agreed. And for us, it's not too good to be true, but it's a great part of our tech stack, and that's working with Pateno. And maybe tell us a bit more about some of the products and services that you've developed in partnership with Netcoins, as far as building out e-transfers and different funding and payment services, and as well, the roadmap as well for us.
Mhm. Yeah, so e-transfer is really core to what we do. It's our number one product. We also do other forms of payments, whether that's EFT, bill payment. We do card issuing and processing in Canada, as well as transaction acquiring or credit card acquiring. But with respect to Netcoins, the on-off ramps via e-transfer is fundamentally core. And some of the developments that we've put in place there for the crypto industry is a functionality called in-app completion. So the reason platforms love this is because it allows you to complete an e-transfer without seemingly kicking back out to your bank. It does it in the back end, but it does it via an iframe while it's staying in the Netcoins platform. So it looks like a native experience to the Netcoins platform, but also increases completion rates dramatically. If someone doesn't have to go away and take an action, but can do it right there, then that really kind of increases their completion rate. Other innovations in the e-transfer space have been our high performance APIs. So in addition to crypto, we're very active in the online gaming, sports betting space. Super Bowl Sunday, we're doing about 1,000 transactions a minute. That's all possible in a fast, efficient, instantaneous, no latency way because of the high performance APIs that we've built, all on our own infrastructure. So we own the access points via our affiliate DC Bank to all the major banking rails in Canada, and then we built an entire API-enabled payments tech stack on top of that access and own all of that infrastructure throughout the piece. So when we are building for companies like Netcoins, we're able to do that on our own tech without being beholden to another partner. So we can really listen to our clients and say, okay, what innovation would be helpful to you, impactful to your business? Let's build it together and roll it out without any impediments to doing that.
Well, it makes it seamless, safe, and easy. Our clients love it. And we're on track for about $1 billion in transaction volumes this year, and most of that's powered by Pateno.
Amazing. I love it.
As you look ahead with Pateno, what's your number one execution focus for this year?
So with respect to crypto, I mean, we have a breadth across the various different industries, but my number one execution focus with respect to crypto is we have, I'd say 80-90% of the cryptocurrency market on off ramps in Canada. What I'm trying to do and what I want to do is get 100% of that, because what that allows us to do is create a signet, which is a 24/7, 365 ability to move payments between crypto platforms so everyone can settle amongst each other and not be beholden to banking hours, similar to how they had in the US before some of those big crypto banking failures occurred. A number of our brokers, traders, platforms like Netcoins can settle amongst each other today. But if we get 100% of that market, that means every single crypto company in Canada can settle 24/7, 365, and instantaneously on our platform without ever having to be beholden to weekends, holidays, et cetera, which for crypto doesn't stop. So when you want to settle a trade, if that's a multi-million-dollar trade, you don't want to wait till Monday or over Christmas holidays. You don't want to wait 5 days to settle that trade. We allow for that technology today. We just need to get the remaining partners on the platform.
Well, we'll get to work on them, and super exciting. That would be a huge component of instant liquidity, better settlement times, and
Definitely.
ultimately a better experience for all the customers in Canada. So, looking
Absolutely.
forward to that. Pamela, where can we follow your progress and Pateno's progress and DC Bank's progress?
I'd say we're most active on LinkedIn. So for our group of companies on LinkedIn, check out Digital Commerce Group or my personal handle there. That's where we'll post things like our blogs, which talk about industry insights, trends that we're watching. It also really highlights all the events that we're at. We have a really active event schedule. We're usually out at a couple different places across the country, United States, even in Europe every month. See Fraser at a number of them, but if you want to know where we're at, we'll certainly be announcing it there and would love to connect.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for joining us as part of the BIGG interview series. We were joined today again by Pamela Draper, the President and CEO of Digital Commerce Payments and Pateno Payments Inc. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Fraser. Thanks for having me on.